Hurricane warnings in effect ahead of Tropical Storm Fiona. A substantial threat for the Greater Antilles has manifested itself in the form of Tropical Storm Fiona, which is expected to become a hurricane as it moves through Puerto Rico in the next couple of days. It's currently at 16.9 north, 64.3 degrees west, and hurricane warnings are in effect. As of 4 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, it had winds of 60 miles per hour, a pressure of around 1002 millibars, moving west at 6 miles per hour. Movement is expected to turn gradually towards the northwest, and the storm is expected to slip across the southern coast of Puerto Rico and then along the western side and through into the western Atlantic. Here it is right now with its wind field, which isn't huge but certainly sizable, up at 110 nautical miles in the northeastern quadrant. Hurricane warning in effect for Puerto Rico and its associated islands. It is currently 95 kilometers now from St. Croix, 169 from Charlotte-Amalie, the capital of US Virgin Islands, 169 from Vieques, 250 from San Juan, and 464 from Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. All of these locations are expected to receive at least tropical storm conditions, with the islands around Puerto Rico, including the main Puerto Rico, getting hurricane force winds and a lot of rainfall, which we'll also explore. In fact, here it is, the largest, probably the primary hazard is flash flooding, even more of concern than the hurricane force winds. Torrential rainfall could produce 20 inches or 500 millimeters of rainfall accumulations in Puerto Rico, leading to likely serious flooding and landslides. We know how prone this region is to incidents like this, along with winds of at least 75 miles per hour sustained. Here's the expected forecast track and wind fields over the next few days, and you can see the storm advancing and turning northwards there, and then moving just east of the Bahamas and eventually making a run possibly at Bermuda, getting tropical storm force winds later in the week. And what's left of Fiona will then transition into a post-tropical cyclone as it reaches Canada, but that is beyond that 5 to 7 day period. There's the National Hurricane Center cone on the left hand side of your image, with 60 miles per hour winds with decent agreement, although interestingly the ADT amounts right now are currently suggesting that 75 mile per hour winds, which would be quite fascinating. However, looking at satellite imagery and observations received so far would suggest that Fiona is nowhere near, or at least not yet, a candidate for hurricane status. Here is the National Hurricane Center chances of tropical storm force winds. The red areas being high chances there, around 70% or more. Puerto Rico obviously getting a lot of that, and also the northern coast of the Dominican Republic should watch out, as well as the Turks and Caicos Islands, and indeed even maybe some of the Bahamas. This is the GFS forecast solutions, calling for a hurricane there as it exits the Greater Antilles, and becoming quite a substantial one at that, category 3 or maybe 4, as it approaches Bermuda and passes towards the west to northwest of the island. Just trying to check that again there, how strong winds they get. Hurricane force winds can't be ruled out, but it is beyond the 5 day period, so nothing to be concerned about just yet, but something to watch very closely. Later on in the forecast track there, you can see on day 7 moving along the coast of Newfoundland. Here is the water vapor mock-up, suggesting what might we see in the next few days. The storm quite small in terms of its air mass. You can quite clearly see it rotating around there, but could get quite intense, with the GFS model suggesting minimum pressures into the 930s when it moves into the Atlantic Ocean, and when it makes landfall in Puerto Rico, probably in the 980s. That's just one model, of course. There are several others out there, and that is the GFS solution. Puerto Rico no doubt will get the worst of the conditions in any case. And here you can see the rainfall expectations. GFS perhaps a little bit east of what the forecasters are saying at the National Weather Service, indeed suggesting that it's the US Virgin Islands that gets the brunt of the rainfall amounts, which exceed 20 inches in some of those areas, up to 25, and along the southern coast of Puerto Rico 10 to 15, with possibly isolated amounts up to 20. That once again is 500 millimeters, and these areas can be susceptible to flooding, so it is a big concern, with maximum amount there 27 inches indicated on the GFS forecast. Sea surface temperatures ahead of the storm right now are generally where it's been stalling a little bit, well, not stalling, but where it is right now it's around 26, but it will push up to 29 along the coast of Puerto Rico and beyond, and then as it enters out in the open Atlantic again, it will drop a little bit to around 27 degrees, pushing 28 once it gets towards the Gulf Stream. So temperatures looking very good for the full 5-day period, and possibly a little bit beyond, with temperatures of you can see 78 there, which is just short of 26 degrees, just north to the east of Bermuda actually. Here's the latest satellite imagery, and you can see on visible quite clearly where the center of Fiona is. It is quite close to St. Croix, which is the sort of flat shaped island there near the center of the storm, and convection blowing up a little bit on the northern side on that visible imagery, not so much on the southern sides, but here is the infrared as well mixed in with the true color imagery. It's obviously stacked up on the eastern side compared to the west. It's a little bit quieter on the western side, quite a lot actually, but still rain bands are being felt on Puerto Rico right now, and the US Virgin Islands getting a lot of that rainfall. This eastern side is probably going to be the not only the windiest but definitely the wettest at the present, with lots of minus 70 degree cloud tops and more poking around there near the center and in that big band to the southern side of Fiona right now. And whilst we're here, we can take a look at Puerto Rico radar, and we can take a look at how that's looking, maybe a little bit lopsided in terms of that circulation as it appears from Puerto Rico radar, but quite clearly on the northwestern side even there are very high radar returns suggesting a powerful side to the storm there, and one or two little bands there with various amounts of short spells of heavy rain. We'll have more updates on this storm as it develops.